What's up, everybody? It's Leafs Talk on the Sportsnet podcast, and I guess just Sportsnet Network. This is like it. This lives in every single house. Sportsnet now, YouTube, whatever. Leafs win, huge win. They get it done against the Bruins 2-1. Man, this is a weird one to talk about because as excited I am by the performance that they put together tonight, it's hard not to start with the Samsonov injury.
Mm-hmm. That's got to be the start, obviously. What else would you start with?
I
knew they beat the Bruins, but this is now crisis mode immediately. Like we can't.
Yeah.
Like this is why this team's amazing because they have by far their best performance of the year. Skated the best team in the league into the ground. Like don't get me wrong,
Yep.
they're the last game of their road trip. I think they're heading home. They've been on the road I think for 4 or 5 games here. It's the end of their trip. They're maybe a little bit of a tired group, no doubt, but the Leafs skated them into the ground the whole night. They were way better than them, way more aggressive, hard on pucks, the whole deal. As good as it gets from this Leafs team in terms of playing the Bruins. But man, you can't start anywhere but starting with now Eric Källgren as your number one goalie because now that's what the situation is.
I will say, like, Leafs had their legs tonight, and that was really nice to see. But probably the most encouraging thing for me was the way that they were just dominant in puck battles all night long. The Bruins just how many times did the Bruins have the middle of the ice?
Yeah, so this is the conversation we were having over text is why this Leafs team is so frustrating and so just peculiar and not even it's predictable because you go into this game and we even talked about it. I think one of the post-game shows after they had lost one of the dog crap teams that they had lost to in the last couple of weeks, we said, well, they'll probably come out in that Bruins game and play great.
We said they'd run up the score against the Flyers and then they'd beat the Bruins in a tight game. That's exactly what we said.
So you can't even say that it's like a great call because it's literally the most predictable thing on earth.
They own the Bruins too. Like they own, they just
four straight
own the
regular
Bruins
season
now.
games. 4 straight regular season games they've won. I was so impressed, like you said, with their denial of pucks to the center of the ice. Like, how many grade A's did they get? The one that rolled on Pasta, like I would say, tops 5 at the most. One that Pasta hit off the post. Like they didn't have a lot of really great chances, so they were
huge
just hard on
break not getting a hooking call on Pasternak though when they were already on the penalty.
God, and then unbelievable.
Stupid move by him to just quit on the play.
No, it's not stupid because he got hooked in the hands in front of the ref.
Dude, that call was I'd have it, and the Leafs kept playing, and I went, oh, so whistles can break. Like you can break a whistle because there's no way that none of those guys were calling that.
So the call that put them on the penalty kill before was bad.
Yeah.
It was a bad call because
it was a bad call on the penalty shot too, which was come on, like what are we doing here? I needed I really wish we had on the hockey.
What a shocking turn of events.
No, but I really wish that we had this on the hockey broadcast too. Maybe we don't need it because the refs always apologize that are on the football broadcast. I was like, you could see why the officials made that call. I can see how you're defending your refs. But I really did want a breakdown as to why that was a penalty shot when it didn't really look like he had a clear break.
Yeah,
he
got clear at the hash marks. Like he was cutting into the middle of the ice. It was weird to me too. But
I just thought again that the way that they just denied the Bruins anything in the slot tonight was spectacular. And how many times did the puck go low and Boston does their classic, we're going to put it in, we're going to dominate, win a puck battle, cycle it down low. Leafs killed the cycle all night long. When did the Bruins set up tonight? Never. Yeah. Like there were rarely any moments where Boston felt like they were threatening. It's a team that's been good off the rush this year. The Leafs never gave them really any rush opportunities. It was just, that's as complete a performance as I can remember from them in a really long time. I'm sure there were a bunch last year where they played a full 3 periods, but man, I got to tell you, like you said that it was predictable that they would win this game. I said it too, that it makes it frustrating, but the thing that probably impressed me more so than anything, and I know I've probably already said that once or twice, is just that you knew the Bruins were going to push back. You knew the Bruins were going to try to find something, but the Leafs never had their classic lull period that they normally have, even in a good game like this. And I'm not talking about there wasn't a bad 5 minutes from this team tonight.
Yeah, which is really nice to see. And listen, I'm not going to go out there and say, Liljegren's a world changer for this decor, but boy, it was nice to listen, both of us say a lot of stuff about Liljegren in terms of what he is as an NHL defenseman, but just to have an NHL defenseman back in the lineup was a big change for the decor. I didn't notice him a ton. I thought he made a couple good reads along the boards, looked like he was physical, good net front presence, battling in front of the net, helping them deny the middle of the ice. But to me, that's just such a thing to add one more guy. It just makes it look so much different to me. Like instead of mixing in Mette or Crawl or whoever the hell else they try to bring up from the Marlies to kind of fill in capably, to have a guy that's not a world beater by any stretch of the imagination, but I just thought he really, really stabilized it back there tonight. I thought the decor in general was really good. Like Justin Hall looked okay. Him and Brody seem to be finding their footing. Don't love Morgan Riley still a lot of times, but Giordano looked good. Sandin, didn't notice him a ton, but I thought they looked good defensively, and that's a testament to the decor. And I think a little bit of it had to do with Liljegren coming back to the lineup because they just looked like a better unit to me.
Yeah, they were definitely more balanced tonight, and you like having a guy who can break the puck out. He had an early turnover in the game where I went, oh, come on, man.
The pizza. Like, I was like, oh, no.
But from that point forward, I thought that he was pretty solid. And, just to me, he looks like, despite the appendectomy, a bit stronger than he was last year. That was the thing that I noticed right away. The Morgan Riley stuff, I like that. We'll save that for a different podcast, but there are some,
we need to have a conversation.
There's definitely, he's been the guy that I think out of all of this has probably escaped the most criticism. And if you're talking about guys who deserve the most of it, he's probably higher on the list than he should be. But man, I actually just thought this was a big time Giordano game. He just made a whole lot of plays, a whole lot of tough plays. And I thought that on the back end, he really set the tone tonight. Brody too. Like I thought it was just your classic TJ Brody game where you don't notice him unless you're really looking for it, but just killing play after play after play, making smart decision after smart decision. But the big one for me was on that power play in the third where Giordano just finds a way to spot. Like you're 40 years old and you can kind of do the splits like that. A guy looks like a backup dancer for a pop star making that move. That was awesome.
Yeah, he's an Italian guy. Those soccer guys, they dive and jump around until they're 45. So he's got that Italian blood in him. I actually
feel better about him since I talked to Versteeg this week on my show.
What do you say?
Because he's a guy who, he played with him, right? He knows him really well.
Yeah.
Like they're buddies. And I mentioned the minutes and the workload on Giordano, and he went, man, honestly, that guy's a horse, and he is classic, the kind of guy that even now, the more you play him, the better off he's going to be. So I'm just going to kill that narrative for the two of us for now. I'm going to trust the Versteeg analysis on that one.
I'll take that all day.
I just, the way that he's looked so far this season, he's been incredible.
So he did when Hall got him from behind there a little bit. He took a little bit of a dive. Like he kind of jumped a little bit. And I think that's what made Hall give him the shot on the way by. But then I loved him skating up the hall and being like, all right, tough guy, you ready? Like he was ready to go him. He had the kind of the stick in position that you do when you're ready to get the gloves down. So he got in his face a little bit. Obviously Hall's not going to go him, but he, to me, like obviously got beat to death over the last few days about what happened with Matthews and what Matthews should have done and what Matthews shouldn't have done. We don't need to get into that conversation here, but his contribution to that melee felt like a real turning point for Leaf fans and Giordano in terms of what he brings. Everybody loved him, obviously, because he took the discount and him coming back here. But him jumping in like that, dude, and like I was in the building for that night, that was the most electric moment of him jumping in set the Scotiabank Arena on fire. So I
criticized it, right?
What? Oh, why? What'd you say?
I said that it was a bit of a dangerous play. He tackled the guy that he wasn't looking. He tackled the guy who.
Leafs talk. Bye.
Buddy, you can't just. Not everybody can. Everybody doesn't have to agree on everything.
Himself, God.
I just said that he wasn't looking at any tackle. But anyways, you're right. It was a big play and it was like a really emotional play. He grabbed him and that game.
And then he fought after too. It's not like he skated away. He went Hayes, who's a big guy, and Gio, the whole crowd was chanting his name. It was a big moment for him.
No. My only point was simply that it was a blindside tackle, and it's like that was one of those plays where when it happened, I went, "Oh my God!" Like he better get up. Because if he doesn't, there's going to be a tribunal.
There's going to be a referendum.
Yeah, exactly. And
this is leading the national tonight.
So, do you think that Keith Petruzzelli is getting the call up? He's not even signed apparently. So, he's the roster spot. Obey Kubel, our favorite player, our favorite Keith signing. Petruzzelli is the goalie's name. Anyway, he's not signed. But you can Google him.
Okay. Yeah. Big goalie.
Let's get into
6'5".
Yeah. The Leafs open up a roster spot. They were 50 out of 50 contracts, but they waive Obey Kubel, so they open up that slot. Pour one out for the Obey Kubel era. You and I hated the signing from day one, and
didn't change my mind.
Yeah.
The second I saw him play.
Dude, you know those videos people make where they go, here's this guy's season highlights.
Yeah.
And then it's just
Him
nothing. It just
falling
stays
down
up.
3 times and
Yeah,
then
no,
bent.
it's just gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's a
Yeah.
guarantee though. He's gonna score against the Leafs when the Caps play
For sure.
Toronto. Like
But who
that's a
cares?
lock. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lock of the century. But man, Samsonov goes down. We don't know anything about it. I guess like if maybe we'll hear something from Keefe in a little while,
Yeah.
because again, we record this right away. So by the time this gets posted, people are probably gonna be like, you idiots, we already know. They were showing him on the penalty shot, right? Because he bends kind of weird. He makes the first move, he gets stuck, and he just looked like he caught a toe. Like it wasn't too clear, but his knee looked like it bent strange. But he finished the period. He doesn't come out to the start of the third. You tell me, because we're doing the video test here.
Yeah.
And I like have to scramble back to the TV, rewind it. I'm waiting for some play or some announcement. There's nothing. They're just showing
That's
that
the
one
scariest
thing.
part.
I know.
That it's just like him going back in, and it's not non-contact, because I think you could say Marchand was a contact with that absolutely disgusting backhand move that he made on poor old Sammy and just made him look silly and hurt his knee. But knee for goalie isn't usually something that heals overnight, literally, because they have another game tomorrow night in Carolina. So this is probably going to be, what's his name again? Petruzzelli?
Yeah, no, but he has to be signed, and I don't know if they'll do that.
Well, they'll have to. What are they going to do? They're going to bring the York goalie on the road? Like, they have to bring somebody. And he's the only one. Where's Hutch? Oh, the conch is going out. Oh.
Hutch is back, baby. Dude, I actually think that
in Barrie, Ontario, he's like, oh, he gets up off his couch. Dude. He's like, I'm ready, baby.
He's ready to roll. McElhaney's on his couch somewhere in Colorado. He's ready to rock and roll. Someone call Mac. Kurt Mac is back. No, I think that they got to make a trade. They got to make a trade. The only thing is, man, is again, you just pulling from the draft pick cupboard. More pulling from the draft pick cupboard. They've already got a couple that are out the door in next year's draft. I don't have it in front of me, but I know that if they trade another, like this was the whole thing with the Ethan Bear pick, right? Is that they wanted to be in on Ethan Bear, but they couldn't sacrifice that pick and only go into a draft with, I think, 2. I might be wrong, but I think they only have 3 picks next year. Like
no, they got more than that. I think they have a pretty close to full boat next year.
Okay, maybe then it was that they wanted 2 for Ethan Bear or something. I do hate the idea of this team already having to move draft picks on, November 5th or 6th. I just don't think.
Too bad. It's a
necessity.
necessity.
But this is not a situation where you can call up a kid from the AHL. Like I'm sorry, you got to bring in an actual professional NHL goaltender, especially when like the news on Matt Murray was he's a ways away. So I think you could get away with just, tomorrow having Shalgren in net and calling it, like, you don't have to panic and do anything too crazy too fast. But to me, this is a situation where if Samsonov is going to be out a while, and I'm talking like a month here plus, right? He's out a month. I think that you need to make the panic trade. I think that you actually pick up the phone, call the Sharks, and see if you can get some kind of a deal for old James Reimer and bring him back to town.
Oh, my God.
He's a pending unrestricted free agent. He's been solid, and he's good with splitting the net with guys. Like, the only question is then what do you do when it comes to potentially all 3 of those guys getting healthy all at once?
Yeah, I do not envy this decision-making process with Kyle Dubas right now. This is hard. And I don't mind the idea of James Reimer, but I just feel like every time the Leafs play James Reimer, they shoot 6 in the net. So I have a clouded feeling of how he is as a goalie these days. But
I just feel like that's
an option. It's for sure. It's an option. He knows the market. Like he's a passable goalie. He's going to be better than Shalgren is. Like there's no doubt. Like God loves Shalgren. And, I wouldn't say he was exactly excellent in the third period there, looking pretty shaky as usual. I don't want to throw
Made that
dirt
one nice glove save, though. It wasn't like a beautiful rainbow glove save, but he caught it, and they needed to stop the play there, and he did it. So that's his best save.
Listen, he's a third goalie. It's not fair for me to be like.
I don't even think he is a third goalie.
Yeah, he's a fourth goalie. He's an AHL starter backup guy. Like there's no real future with him being a good goalie in the NHL. The other thing is you can look back to last year with how bad their goaltending was here and how good they played with bad goaltending. And listen, there's been not as good as it was last year the way they've played. Don't get me wrong. But you can kind of sell yourself if you're Dubas on the fact that if this team has turned a corner with this big win against the Bruins, that you can get by with 890, 900 until Matt Murray and Samsonov get healthy. But they're not banking on that. I'm not saying you're banking on that, but I'm just saying you're banking on that.
Yeah. So here's my spin zone. This was my immediate spin zone, right?
Oh yeah, you're scrambling for a spin zone when your goalie gets hurt. Immediately.
No, I got the spin.
Okay,
the spin is that it, like, not having anybody back there is going to force this team to play tight. This could go one of two ways, right? Either you have the bad goaltender and he starts letting in bad goals, and it kind of breaks the team a little bit in the middle of the year where they start to dog it and go like, oh crap. But the positive spin zone is that you play a really tight game like the one you did tonight in front of Eric Shalgren, game over game, and you wait. And then you have like a situation where Matt Murray gets to potentially come back and play savior. I love how we're talking about this, and they could be like, actually, they just took out Samsonov for precautionary reasons.
Yeah,
totally
for
fine.
sure.
You guys are burning this entire pod.
But listen, if he played the rest of the second period and then went into the room and then couldn't come back out, that tells me that he's like, no way. He's like, I tried it. I went for it. I can't go back out there. My knee's bugging me. And it's probably not, it's not going to be one game or 2 games. I don't think. I'm not going to say that he's going to be out a long time, but this is going to be something that they're going to have to navigate here. A knee injury for a goalie.
My phone trying to see if there's like anything like on it, but all I have still
you won't get it till the morning. You won't get it till the morning. It's going to be, Keefe's going to say no update, and then they'll figure it out before tomorrow. They'll sign somebody. They'll make a trade. Something will happen. If we get the late night Kyle Dubas panic trade, remember when we used to get those when he traded for Campbell after Hutch had one of those awful games? He's done a lot. He's traded for Labushkin after a terrible game. He trades for these guys late night after bad games. If they're like thinking about, maybe if we get a late night panic trade, we know it's bad. But right now we'll just have to go that it's not, I don't know what it is. I'm not a doctor, but I think they're going to have to navigate this for probably close to a week or something.
To me, like I said, I'd prefer they make some kind of a trade. Or sorry, I'd prefer they make some kind of a trade if Samsonov's out for a significant amount of time. Like, don't screw around with it. Just go out and make that kind of a deal. It is tough, though, too, because you don't know how the market's going to develop for some of these other goaltenders, like come deadline time.
Yeah,
and
you don't want to set the market.
That's what I mean. And you also don't want to see it where a couple of guys end up there that you like and you miss and you ended up with the wrong guy. You use some assets to get the wrong guy.
Yeah.
To me, my preference would be, or my hope would be, that Samsonov's only out for a week or two, a couple of weeks, and that you can just try to staple this together with the guys that you have in the system. Maybe you do sign that kid Keith and you give those guys a look and you ask your team to really play tight in front of them. Like that's the best case scenario for this team. I will say this though. If it doesn't work out, this was always one of the biggest risks Kyle Dubas took during the offseason, man.
100%.
He signed Matt Murray, who had been injured throughout his last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
He got hurt right away. And then what happens? You've got everything pinned on one goaltender who was...
And hasn't he had some injury stuff too,
well,
Samsonov? Not as bad as Murray, obviously, but I remember him having a couple things.
But the main thing with him is just like, you couldn't be as certain of what you were getting in terms of a guy that was just going to be able to eat 60 games for you and be a stud throughout them, right? Like we've talked about the 10-game sample to start last season and what he was. It really does say something when your organization that drafted you in the first round and developed you walks away from you on what
non-tendered you.
Non-tenders you.
Is that a baseball thing? They didn't pick up his qualifying offer.
Yeah.
They let him go.
Oh, speaking of baseball, you got to get to that. We got to rush this out. I got to go watch my Phillies. But you don't have anything in the system either. That's the scary part, right? Maybe this Keith Petruzzelli kid is something. Maybe he develops into a thing. But this was an issue going back to last year, is why this organization hasn't been able to draft and develop goaltenders better.
You know why? It's because one of Dubas's core philosophies with goaltending and drafting is, and I've talked to Borny about this multiple times, is to take goalies late, is to not draft goalies early. And you look like, I think Shesterkin was a 4th rounder, which is an absolute steal of a draft pick. Like, great job to the scouting department. But Vasi was a 1st round pick, wasn't he? Carter Hart 1st round pick. Like, when you take a goalie in the 1st round, there's some pedigree, there's some understanding that they're going to be a good player. Like, I know it goes the other way. Clearly there's been busts, but like, you think of goalies that go in the 1st round, they probably have a better chance of being a real thing as opposed to a guy that you're taking a shot on in the 4th or 5th round. Where's Joseph Wall? Is Joseph Wall around? Does he play or is he hurt?
And Ian Scott, there was a real moment where those two were hot in the streets. And
but is Joe Wall hurt? Like, I don't even know. I guess we're going to have to get up to date on the goalie depth of the Toronto Maple Leafs here, because it's coming up in a hurry, but it'd be nice if he could
healthy.
Make
I just don't think he's a guy. Like, I think
probably
that they've just determined that he's not it. Anyway, it's just, It's pretty dire straits, and it's really tough to think about a solution. And just like the two of us kind of kicking this around, I think it tells you what a predicament Kyle Dubas is in with this, right? Like how, and there's no team that's going to be doing him any favors.
No way.
Like,
They know he's in a desperation situation.
Exactly.
They're not gonna bail
if you
him
do
out.
have to make a trade, it's going to end up being an overpay, which is not ideal. Especially again, it's November 5th. And you just heard Matt Murray's a ways away, and then you lose a goaltender. And again, it just sucks too, because it really does sap the energy from a really complete game by them. By the way, I just want to, like, I got a rapid fire.
Joe Wall, I don't think has played a game yet for the Marlies.
Yeah, okay.
So
I thought he was healthy, but yeah, I got to admit, I'm not a huge pays attention to the Marlies guy.
No.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, let me have it.
I really liked Malgin tonight.
So did I. I did too.
I loved him.
I thought he was
awesome.
popping. I thought he was skating hard. I thought he was actually throwing his weight around a little bit. He had a couple good chances, hit the post. He wants to stay in the lineup, and that's what you want. You want guys hungry. I think do you think, I mean, this is big time pie in the sky here, but you think he saw Kubel get waived and being like, holy crap, like these guys, they don't care. They're waving anybody. Like, I better get in there and start making a contribution, because boy, tonight was by far his best game as a Leaf.
That being said, I think Simmons has to come out of the lineup tomorrow night against Carolina and put Robertson back in. You can't sit him 3 straight games. You just can't do it. You got to put him back in. And like, I understand that people think he needs to play with skilled players, and he's going to look weird on whatever line you put him on that's not in the top 2, right? Mm-hmm. That's just going to be the case. And it's like, you can't really put him with Kampf, so he sort of has to be,
there seems to be something there, eh? Why they're not playing him. Like, there must be something with Keefe not liking him, or I don't know what it is. Not liking him as a person, but not liking his game. The team that's starved for offense, for me to not put him in, like you said, 2 straight games he's sitting. If you're going to go into Carolina tomorrow, he has to play. He can't sit 3 straight.
You got to play him.
Or else you might as well just put him in the Marlies. Like, if he's going to be sitting on the bench, you can't. I don't know. But
it's like, he's one of those guys where it's
Traycos
kind of
was
at the point.
They should have traded him right after he had his 2-goal game. They should have traded him. Traycos was right.
No, but seriously though, dude, he's kind of, what are you doing putting him down in the Marlies? Like, he's clearly above that league now. Like,
quad A at the moment.
He is quad A, and you're kind of in a bit of a predicament with him, and I don't know what they're going to end up doing, but I think you have to play him tomorrow night, and you just got to take out Wayne Simmons. Yeah, that seems like the play to me. But at this point, based on what Malgin's done the last 2 games, he's definitely not coming out. Like, he's there. And he's probably getting a bit of a run now, because he like that was a really, really good game by him against the team that you would have thought, hey, this is the team that's kind of a crappy matchup for him, and he was awesome.
Yeah, and Simmons is an easy one to take out. On second half of a back-to-back, older guy, like, it's easy one to be like, hey, you're sitting down tonight, Simmer. He's not gonna. It's not gonna mean as much to Simmer to sit as much as it's gonna mean to Robertson to play. Is basically what I'm getting.
Also, they already made the decision on Simmons before the season started, man. Like, they already made that decision.
He was gone.
Yeah, you can't be playing Simmons over Nick Robertson at this point in a lot of regular season games. Anything else from you?
Well, nice to see Matthews getting hot. I still don't think he looks very as dominant as he usually does in years past.
That line looked great in the first period, but then they kind of faded.
Kind of cooled off. But it's nice to just see him getting the results now, because the results weren't there and it was looking bad. So it's nice to see him get some results. This first one was really nice. That deft touch by Bunting, for sure. Deft touch and getting it in there. Second one, you or me could have tapped that baby home. That was a nice play by Willie.
Bunting got murdered in this game too. Like,
buddy, Bunting's whole life is him going to the front of the net, someone punching him going down like he got shot, and then looking at. Did you see that screenshot of him looking to the official?
Yeah.
And then he gets up. It's just like, you're such a. Anyways, one of my core values.
He got smoked on that one though.
For sure, he got buried. No doubt. That was not a dive. That one was not a dive. He got absolutely buried. But like, let's not act like he doesn't dive every game. I hate the diving, and so I hate giving him the benefit of the doubt, because it's just over and over. It's night after night. It's like, God, doesn't that get tiring? Just flopping around all the time.
Yeah, but the way that the refs have been officiating him this year, he needs to take that one to get a call.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, he needs to get absolutely punished to get a call
in front of
because they really do know. Anyway, I thought that was an important game for the bottom 6, and I just thought that Malgin really popped. He had a really good one. He's drawn some criticism.
Camp, excellent on the penalty kill tonight. Excellent.
Camp was awesome.
Long stick, great reads. Like our king, Camp, on the penalty kill. He's so good. So
we really do. Like, we are the Camp fan club. Like,
oh yeah. We should get jersey. That's the only guy on the team I get a jersey on.
Yeah, that's true. It's the only guy that we're allowed to rock is David Camp. Anything else from you? I'm done. I got this one.
I'm really happy to be back on with you, buddy. Looking forward to tomorrow night getting on YouTube. Yeah. But yeah, really nice. And I thought, hey, just quickly before we go, it was great to watch a fun game. It was a good game. Both teams are good. Guys are flying around. There was intensity. It kind of felt like a playoff game for moments. Not the full game, but for moments there was some playoff intensity. It's fun just to watch a good game again.
Yeah. Yeah. Felt bad for those Bruins players too, having to talk about Mitchell Miller's situation all day today. Like a situation that they obviously didn't want. Like Nick Foligno being pretty vocal about it. That's
that guy seems like the number one beauty in the league, eh? Foligno, like, oh my God, listen to that guy talk, and you're like, this guy, I'd run through a brick wall for this guy.
No,
but what he said today about Miller was just like, yeah, you absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, listen, we don't have to spend any time on this. I'll just say this, like, I understand how there are people doing the whole, like, when you're 14, you make mistakes thing, and I go, yeah, okay,
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
No, but you can make mistakes at 14, but then you can also just not have you can go out and make a different living for sure. Like, you're not going to jail, but you don't get the right to be in the NHL. And I just think that for this league, with all the smoke that's been around the NHL for the last couple of years and all the bad press that hockey has gotten when it comes to inclusion, for this league to be so brain dead and welcome a story like this and say, you know what, we're going to let this guy be a part of our league. I just thought it was a scummy move.
But it doesn't even seem like it was the NHL. Like, Bettman talked about it today, and it's Bettman's like,
he's got to be pissed.
Oh, he's so pissed.
Well, and then Don Sweeney doesn't even talk to Hockey Night in Canada tonight about it. He ducks the media. I just thought it was cowardly. I think it's a scumbag move.
Completely agree. I'm glad
I hate it.
I mean, there's not many other takes to have on this. I see eye to eye with you completely. It's just,
no, you can have the other view. It's what the Bruins did. Like, that's what the Bruins did. They went, hey,
and they gave him the maximum money that you can give on an entry level, which means that there's other teams that look, and there's other teams that are looking at him. So, yeah,
just sucks, man. It just sucks. I love this league. I love this sport, and I just seeing this be the press is just like, yuck. It was just a gross day, but and like, obviously the people you care about the most are the victims' families, because they have to see this crap and they have to go through it all over again.
And like no real apology. Like, you see his mom talking. It's like, oh my God, it's got to get dug up again. She's got to go through this.
It's crushing. But
I know.
I did think about the players in the Bruins organization that had to be the ones that talk about it. Like, these guys getting ready for a game against the Leafs. They're having a killer start to their season.
Coming into the number one media market in the league.
And then all of a sudden they have to be talking about this and somehow kind of defending the organization and like,
buddy, you see Patrice Bergeron, he gets sit down with Frege, and you're just like, immediately, like, that's the first thing you got to talk about on Hockey Night in Canada. You're like, why in God's name did you do this to me, Don Sweeney? Do it to us. Like, it's just, you're the best team in the league. Bad karma. Bad karma.
Horrible karma.
Shame on you, Boston Bruins. Shame on you. Shame
on Boston. Shame on Boston. Anyway, that was Leafs Talk. Subscribe to the podcast. We'll be back live tomorrow night on YouTube. And then, Tuesday, same thing. Only Saturday nights where you got to just catch the podcast and you got to catch it on YouTube later. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, leave 5 stars, do all those nice things. Shoot a follow at JD Bunkis, at Sam McKee. We'll see you Sunday night.